So it's been almost 7 years now since Travis Alexander was killed. Finally, we are getting to the point where we're going to have a sentence in place for Jodi Arias. It's an unusual case because it's taken so long to bring it to trial. It's cost so much money. And I think a lot of people are wondering, why? Why is this trial dragged on for so long when other murder trials don't necessarily last that long?
That's a great question, but we have to go back to the fact that we're doing this over again. So the jury hung on the penalty phase. Under the law, the state elected and had the right to basically present its evidence again. So that added. Now, is this the typical, do all murder trials, do all penalty phases go this long? They don't. They don't. Conservatively, it's about a 60-day, maybe even 90 days. Complex evidence, you have computer evidence, you may have experts that are going to testify, you may have a multitude of mitigating witnesses that are going to come forth and testify. Here, though, again, I think you have issues here with, did the judge really have the right control measures in place to make sure this is moving along at a pace that it should go?
Judges are not supposed to be necessarily conscientious of the spotlight or the attention that's being played publicly in any case, because they're supposed to adjudicate everything pretty much the same way. But judges have to be conscientious of that, and perhaps does this judge look back on this and say, I allowed a lot of things to happen in this trial because there was so much attention being played to it?
This judge is human, just like everyone else. She sits there on the bench. There's no doubt that as she spans across that jury room, she's seen a camera op to her far right. She's seen reporters that have just absolutely taken every seat in that courtroom. So that does it. It has to play on her in making sure that she's viewed as giving both sides the opportunity to present their evidence. And first and foremost, I think that this judge is taking that position. If we could interview her, I think this judge would say, I wanted to make sure that both sides had an opportunity to present their evidence, because we're talking about life or death here.
Yeah. When we look at some other high-profile cases, you can take the American Sniper trial in Stevensville, Texas. It went 2 weeks, a week and a half, somewhere in that nature. So the judge doesn't necessarily have to do this. I don't think anybody wants to see this kind of circus happen again. So what do we do to prevent it in terms of our judicial system?
You know, that's a great point. And there are some judges that from the outset, in pretrial motions, when it's clear that a matter is going to trial, they will lay out for you a calendar and say, here's when we're starting, and here's when we're going to be done. And if your witnesses are not ready, if you're having issues getting your witnesses to court, too bad. And we're going to keep moving. And so maybe a little more in regards to keeping people on task, that would go a long way. But again, first and foremost, everybody is, especially when we're dealing with a death penalty case, due process is such an important concept. The court has to, in the back of its mind, recognize that if I don't allow this to come in now, it's only going to come in later on in appeal.
We've allowed all kinds of things to come into this, and the costs have run up tremendously, too. I don't know if we have the final total, but even after the first trial, it was in excess of $2 million, probably approaching 3 or more. Should cost be a factor in determining how these trials are adjudicated? I
think if you ask the lawyers, no, it shouldn't. And the reason is because this is such an important issue. This is, again, this is our judicial process. And the concern is that if we do allow costs to come in, are they going to cut corners? Are they not going to call experts that otherwise would have allowed the jury to make a determination, an important determination? So that's a real concern. Now, recognizing if we allow every death penalty case to run in the $3 million figures, we're going to go bankrupt.
Because we're the ones paying the bill here.
Absolutely. And so I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the state sit down, you're going to see the prosecutors, you're going to see defense attorneys sit down and evaluate. This is going to be a lesson. We're going to learn many lessons from this case going forward in the years moving away from this trial. And one of the big questions is going to be, how can we avoid this issue? And it may be, here's your budget. This is what you can spend for this. And if you deviate from this, too bad. Or at least having more judicial oversight in regards to those costs.
Great. Hector, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.